Sandra, welcome to another episode of Asexualise, My Sexual Life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality and all things asexual, including asexual life, love, dating, relationships, and confidence. So if you need to improve your asexual relationship skills, dating skills, love life skills, or just your life skills in general, this is the channel to be. So please subscribe now. So, as you may know, I've been off this channel for a while live streaming, and that is because my dearest, beloved Angel died recently. So, this was Angel, my guinea pig, and I'm really glad that I've still got this cushion with her on here. I thought it might be really difficult to have this after she died, but it's actually really comforting to know that she's kind of still with me, even if it isn't a cushion, you know. So she died on Sunday gone. So we are currently, when I'm recording this now, it's a Wednesday in December. It's actually Wednesday, the 7th of December, 2022. I don't know where to put her. And so it's hard, it's really tough. So she died on the 4th of December 2022, and it was a traumatic death. So it wasn't easy. So basically last Thursday she took poorly, and the night before my mum said that she hadn't been eating as much, but on Thursday I phoned my parents up and I had a chat with them, and then they phoned me a little while later to say that there was a problem with Angel's breathing. It was laboured. Laboured means you're like like this. So it's breathing problems, and they're really worried, and we need to get Angel basically into the vets immediately as an emergency. So I phoned the vets up, and they got her in straight away, and she had to have some x-rays on her lungs, and it was really bad news that she had pneumonia and the fluid was on her lungs, and it was worse on one side. Now, usually when a guinea pig gets pneumonia, any sort of respiratory thing like that, they usually always die. I've known this from personal experience because one of my other guinea pigs, called Daisy, she had a respiratory infection and she died. And it's very difficult for guinea pigs to live through anything like that. And so I knew that the outlook was really, really bad, and that there is a large likelihood that she might not survive. But because Angel is a fighter, a thriver, and survivor, I had hope that maybe she would just pull a miracle and she would live. And she's pulled a miracle before because she got diabetes, and she then recovered from diabetes 2.5 years later. Now, for a guinea pig to get diabetes is very rare as it is. The vet's only known of 2 other guinea pigs to get diabetes, and both of them didn't live more than 6 months. My mum has actually been caring for Angel throughout this time since April 2018, when she originally got diabetes. She went blind like within 10 days, got diabetes. I couldn't inject her, and I had a panic attack in the vets, and the vet said at that time that I had to find someone else to basically inject her, otherwise we'd have to put her to sleep. Hi, lots of love to you. Thank you for tuning in chat. So anyway, so on the Thursday, I knew it was really bad news that she had pneumonia, and that it would take a miracle to save her. And that's what's really, really hard, because I knew that she probably had a high probability of not making it, right? And when you know that and you get told that information, it's really, really horrible. But the vet obviously didn't say that. He just said, we put her on a course of antibiotics and there's nothing else we can do. And so, he said that if you're syringing water, be very careful, because if you syringe it the wrong way, it'll get in her air passages and she'll die anyway. So be very careful of anything like that. But basically the infection, all her lungs were infected and her lungs were constricted. So her breathing was bad and the whole thing was not good. And I wanted to stay over my parents on their sofa to be with Angel in the lounge, because my guinea pig, although she's recovered from diabetes 2.5 years later, which was January last year, she's actually still been living with my parents this whole time, and I usually go to visit her. And so this time I wanted to make sure that I was there at the end for her final breaths. That's always been my wish, that even though she lived with my parents, that I would be able to be there for her, kissing and cuddling her and telling her I love her at the final end, right? That was my wish. Because, I wanted to make sure she came into this world with me. So she's living with me and Chestnut for like a year and a half. In 2018, they both had an operation for removing ovarian cysts, and unfortunately, Chestnut didn't make it and Angel did. They both had the same operation, both done by the same person, but this person who did it was new, and he hadn't been out of like veterinary school for long, I don't think. And my own vet was like, um, off. He was sick, so he couldn't do the operation, and he did back my guinea pigs back to back. Now, they both came out of the operation, but Chestnut ended up having internal bleeding afterwards, and literally he opened her up and she bled to death. And that was really horrendous back in 2018. And they thought that if any guinea pig would die out of the two, it would be Angel, because she was diabetic, and it's very difficult to do operations, put them on anesthetic when they're diabetic. The actual anesthetic mucks up their insulin levels. And anyway, they thought Angel would be the weaker one because she's got diabetes, she's gone blind, and it's really difficult. And it was 2018 that they went to my parents, both of them, because they were companions. I didn't want to separate them. So they went together in April, and this is like November, I think, 2018, when they both had the ovarian cysts. They both got them at the same time, both had the same guy doing the operation. When he opened her up, he couldn't find out where she's bleeding from, so she bled to death. It was really horrible. I had to have it investigated because it just sounded really dodgy, but basically he was out not long out of veterinary school, and he was inexperienced. He'd done a couple of guinea pigs before, I've been told since, but it's not good. And so that was really difficult time back in 2018. So she's lived on her own at my parents in an indoor cage since then. My mum takes really good care of animals. She's excellent with animals, and my mum cleaned Angel out every day, gave her hay rings, lots of favorite treats. Like really spoilt her in that way, by giving her loads and loads of foods that she loved and being there for her. And Angel's had a few operations. She had 3 this year. So after the ovarian cysts, a couple of years later, I think it was 2 or 3 years later, she had a lump removed from her spine. It was pressing on her spine, I should say. So it was on her back and pressing on her spine. She had to have that removed. And then this year she started with problems. Like, she stopped drinking water out of a bottle in January, but the vet said she was getting enough water from her vegetables, clearly. And she had to have her paw cut open because she got bumblefoot and her paw was full of pus. And she also had a bladder stone. She had to have a paw cut open, a bladder stone removed pretty much at the same time. And luckily the bladder stone was just inside, so they only had to remove it with tweezers. But the paw had to be cut open, and that was like an open wound that my mum had to treat afterwards. And then more recently, only in the last like 4 weeks or so, and ongoingly since about September, I think, a couple of months, she's had problems with her paws, and the front paws have been bursting open a couple of times, bleeding. And when a little guinea pig bleeds a lot, it's really not good because they can lose too much blood and die. So that's really difficult. And she continued to live with my mum since January last year when she recovered from diabetes, because I just thought it was best for her, because my financial situation has changed to when I first had her. And she's been living with my mum for years, and my mum takes really good care of her. And actually, my flat is no longer like geared up towards having guinea pigs. Like, there literally is no space. And I know that sounds kind of weird and horrible a bit, but I thought her best place was to keep her with my mum because of the routine my mum was used to with her. And also, I broke my ankle last year, I broke my ankle this year, and I really couldn't be cleaning a guinea pig out with a broken ankle. So, from April last year through till like October, I had my ankles broken. And then this year from was it March to May, I broke it again. And so, I couldn't even get my own shopping. My friend Nanny had to do it for me. So, wasn't in a fit state health wise really to look after her. And she always ended up going to the vets for some sort of kind of like condition a lot of the time. And my mum was really good at administering antibiotics or painkillers or anything by syringe. So I really thought overall she's better with my mum and dad to stay there to live. But I used to visit her and give her lots of kisses and cuddles. You've seen her on this channel. I know she was a favorite on his channel. And also, I knew that I want to be there with her when she died, because that was one of my worst fears, like not being there, not living there physically, is if I couldn't be with her at the end. But because the vet had said she got pneumonia, I wanted to stay over in my parents' lounge because she was in an indoor cage in the lounge, and I wanted to sleep on their sofa. I've never slept on the sofa before because I've got fibromyalgia. I thought it would be really bad for my back, but actually, I didn't have a problem with sleeping on the sofa. Probably because I was concentrating on Angel, because it did happen. The vet did actually say that because I said, "Do you think I should stay at my parents' tonight?" Which was the first night she had pneumonia, and he's like, "Yeah," and that usually means because they're likely to die. That's what it means. But I was just glad he said yeah, because my parents, like, if a vet says it, it's kind of holds more authority and weight, really. It should hold the maximum amount of authority and weight if I say it. But, if a vet's saying it, who's a professional person, if you know what I mean, it holds more weight. And so therefore I was able to stay on their sofa. And the first night I was like checking on her like a lot of the time, every 20 minutes, half an hour, I was checking her regularly to make sure she's still alive, because she had really, she had breathing problems. She was like, like that. It's really difficult, to watch a guinea pig like that. And so the first night on Thursday, she went very well. And it's really difficult because by the Friday, which I did a shorts video about that, she was more lively. She was eating a lot more, walking around her cage. She perked up, she got stronger. And we thought this is great because she had another antibiotic, and this was her second one on the Friday. We thought because she was having the antibiotics, they were working, kicking in, and that she'd just continue to get better and she'd be fine. So anyway, on the Saturday, I was stayed over Friday night again. So I stayed Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. So I over the night on Friday, when she'd been good in the day. By the time 6 a.m. came round, she wasn't looking too good. She makes noises like she's in pain, and I took the igloo off her, and I could see she was walking, but she's more like staggering. It wasn't like a strong walk, and I thought she looks dehydrated because we had the heating on because she was getting cold because of pneumonia. And she doesn't drink out of a bottle, I told you. But what I did was I got the bottle off the side of the cage, because my mum still always included it on the side of the cage, and I held the bottle in my hand, and she literally drank from the bottle out of my hand, like of her own accord, and was sucking it. So, in quite a lot of drinks. She was clearly thirsty. When she first woke up, she'd have one spinach leaf, then she had this water, and then she had two more spinach leaves, and then there was a honey bar that my mum had bought her for Christmas as part of a set of honey bars. I think there was two, but she gave her one, wished her a Merry Christmas, or at least she had a Christmas present. And and she ate some of that, and she pulled some of her hay ring, but she didn't really eat the hay. And so it's about 6:50, and that was the last food she ate, and she wouldn't eat for the rest of the day. And so I was getting really worried about it, because if guinea pigs don't eat or drink, they can die, it's just fatal for them. And so I phoned up the vet, asked her, because she seemed to be in pain because she was making noises as well. So my mum had some painkiller from when her paws had been bad, because her paws, I told you, were bleeding before, and she had to have surgery in the end on her paws to drain the blood. So this was a condition she had like about she had it between 8 and 4 weeks ago. She had it ongoing for like over a month, basically. We were backwards and forwards to the vets. I think she was allergic to puppy pads in the end, because when my mum put more hay down and her feet weren't pressing directly on the puppy pads, the redness was gone a lot. But we put puppy pads in originally in January, because when she had the surgery on her paw, one of her paws, they're not both of them, and it was cut open, like, to get the pus out. The vet said she can't go on hay because if it gets in the wound, open wound, then it will be bad. So she needs to go on puppy pads. But these were like cheaper puppy pads, so maybe that's why. So basically her paws are nearly healed. The back one was still a bit red, but her paws are nearly healed, and then she got this pneumonia just come on all of a sudden, really unexpected. And anyway, um, so this particular day on Saturday, I was really worried about her not eating and drinking. So I phoned up the vet, asked about painkillers. My mum had painkillers previously when she had poorly paws, because she seemed to be in pain. I thought that's probably stopping her eating. If she has constriction, obviously, of the lungs, it's really not good. Probably hurt when she was eating. She probably didn't want to eat. And so anyway, I also spoke to them about getting recovery formula, which is like a mixed use syringe that's got all the nutrients they need if they're not eating to keep them alive. So me and my dad went and got this recovery formula. It's about 40 minutes away in the car to that particular surgery because they've got two veterinary surgeries. It's the furthest one away. So we got prebiotics for counteracting the antibiotics. Because antibiotics in guinea pigs are very bad. They can damage their stomach, and then that can cause them to die anyway if they don't eat properly, because that will damage the lining of the stomach, and it causes like air in the body and stuff like that. So anyway, I got the recovery formula back with my dad, and I gave it to her, and she literally was eating off the syringe, which was really good. So I wasn't forcing it or even pushing it. I was literally syringing it as she was sucking off it. She was sucking it like a bit like a goat, you know, suck, 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 suck. I was squeezing it gently in her mouth to catch up with her sucking. So this was a really good sign. And that went really well. She took some water from the bottle as well. She had a few little bits of lettuce, but hardly anything. And I was just happy that she took quite a lot of recovery for me because I thought that was a good sign. So on Saturday night to Sunday morning, I was a lot tireder because I barely slept for 2 nights. Because basically, even on Friday night, I was checking on her. Thursday night, was like 24 hours the most critical usually, but usually they can die anywhere between 1 and 3 days. So, um, for respiratory issues. So anyway, didn't get much sleep, and on Saturday to Sunday, I had actually started falling asleep a bit before my dad even went upstairs. So my dad was there for a little while till like 1 a.m. or something. And then I was, more asleep that night. And anyway, 4 a.m. came, and she literally, I could hear her wailing like once, and sharp wail. So I shot out of the sofa from under the blankets, and I went to her cage, and I took her igloo off and immediately lifted her up, put her in because she was cold, put her in a towel, and I had a hot water bottle that was still a bit warm in a fleece blanket. So I put the fleece blanket with the hot water bottle underneath her after she's wrapped in a towel. Then I put another towel on top because I know that she's quite cold. I was really worried about her, and I wasn't happy with the wailing noise because I thought it sounded like she was in pain. So I did that. I had her on my lap, and I had her on my lap between 4 a.m. and just after 4 a.m. when I made some more recovery for me and chopped up some vegetables. And so I tried her with the vegetables, and she didn't want to eat any of them. I tried her with some recovery formula. She had two little tiny bits of that, and she had a little bit of water out the bowl. And I was stroking her on my lap between 4 and 6 a.m. basically, and she was on this arm, and I was stroking her. Her breathing wasn't good when I took her out the cage, but I calmed her down because when I stroked her, it was soothing for her. So I calmed her down a lot, so her breathing was not as bad, and her eyes were wide open. So I thought this is really good. I was being really positive, saying you can get through this, you can fight this, Angel, you're gonna be fine, and all this lot. And I honestly thought she would be. Because, like, I thought, like, her eyes are wide open, she seems a lot more settled now. I've held her in my arms and stroked her for 2 hours, but I needed the toilet by this time, and I thought it'll be okay to put her back in a cage now. I put her back in a cage, and it was absolutely awful. I put her back in a cage thinking she'd be okay, and she immediately went in the corner, the left-hand corner, and she went over on her side. And this was awful, and she literally proceeded to go around the cage on her side like a seal. And she couldn't even stand up straight. She went under a hay ring really quickly, shot all around the food pots to like this side here. So she ended up from one corner to the other, and her legs were sprawled out in front of her in the back. And clearly she couldn't stand up, and she was dying. And it was awful. It was absolutely awful. I wouldn't wish people to die like this. My grandma died of pneumonia, and I was holding her hand when she couldn't breathe properly and took her last breath. And basically, this is what happened with Angel. So she's gone all around. When I put her back in the cage, thinking she's going to be all right, she's gone on her side, can't stand up straight, gone all the way around the cage like a seal. It was awful. And I needed to go to the toilet. And like, I don't want her to die in the cage. I've got disabilities, which means I can't really hold going to the toilet for too long. And I've already held it for 2 hours. That's unusual for me. And so anyway, I thought I can't let her die in the cage. If I went to the toilet and she died in a cage, that would be my worst nightmare. So I literally wrapped her in a towel again, picked her up, scooped her up, put her in the towel again, went to the toilet while she was still in my arms. And I don't know how I did that, but I did it. And then I sat on the sofa with her. It was awful because I was watching her die in front of me. You watch something, a beautiful soul who she was, my soulmate, And it's really hard for me to talk about this. And so usually when I held her in my arms, I felt so much love from her, so much warmth, so much healing. And I obviously get interested as a romantic asexual in finding a guy for a relationship for me, but I haven't found the right one yet. And when I'm like was cuddling her, I didn't care about relationship. I didn't care about guys. All I cared about was the love from her between me and her. And so anyway, I gone to the toilet, wrapped her in the towel again, and then I sat down with her on the sofa, and it was awful because she was dying in front of my eyes. She couldn't stand up straight at all. She was on one side, and I had to pull the towel around her to hold it as straight as possible. And her breathing was much, much worse, and it just kept getting worse until she couldn't really breathe properly. She was trying to breathe out of her nose, and she was gasping for breath like this. It was awful. And by this time, I'm in tears and I'm kissing her and I'm saying her, I love her. I love you, Angel. I don't want you to die. I don't want you to go. But in the end, I knew that she was going to have to, probably. I said, if you have to, but I really don't want you to go. And literally, it's awful. Absolutely awful. It's such a traumatic death. It's really, really difficult. But I tried to comfort her as much as possible. By this time, she was like in my arms, across my arms. And she did have some fight in her because she moved her paw to like dive into the sofa, I presume, to die. And I wouldn't let her go into the sofa to die. So I let her go over my legs into this arm. So she was snuggling in this arm. And she just like had her head on my arm, and I was trying to kiss her and tell her I love her so much. And she was gasping for breath. It was horrible. And I just had to say, I love you, Angel, and keep saying to her and keep, like being there for her and stroking her and kissing her. And it was awful. I was blowing into her mouth as well to give her some oxygen. But a guinea pig can't go on like that. She's dying in front of my eyes. There was like a rip, like this surge throughout our body, and I thought that's usually when they die, but she wasn't dead at that point. And then about 30 seconds that happened later, then her mouth stopped going. She stopped breathing through her mouth, her nose stopped, and she stopped breathing. It was horrible. It's absolutely horrible. But the good thing is that I was there for. I got my wish and what she would have wished for, which she was in my arms, in my cuddle, being kissed, told she's loved. And I told her I'll be there till the end with her. If I hadn't been there, she would have died in a cage because my parents were in bed asleep, and they don't get up at that time of day. They're not there between 4 and 7. They get up a bit later, and so she would have died in a cage alone. And I was just so glad I was there for her because I know that she was loved at the end and she was soothed as much as she could be. But it is traumatic. I mean, it's so traumatic. And so, like, at the moment, like, I'm still grieving. You might have seen some shorts videos, and I wanted to just explain this and how I'm coping with the grief in case it helps you, in case you've got grief, and also explain about the other stress that I've got. The major stress at the moment I've got is moving. So my landlord's now issued a Section 21. So basically, I contacted the council in the UK to tell them I was being potentially made homeless because my landlord's given me notice to leave. They said it was not legal notice. Now he's just served legal notice on me yesterday. And so I have to get out by the 10th of February now because the previous notice wasn't legal, which was the 27th of December. So I've got a little bit more time to find a place, but not much because most places, still got a tenant in for a month. So really by the end of December, beginning of January, I need to have found a place because the tenant of whatever place I find won't be moving out probably till the end of January. And I've got to be out of here by the 10th of February. So it's a really difficult, traumatic time for me with Angel because I'm still grieving. And also that I've got to move out and leave this home. I've lived here for 18 years, if you really want to know. I know I'm too young for that, but I left home young. And so, and I am really young, like mindset, lifestyle, and I don't care about my birth certificate age, but I have been here that long. Like, even when I told one of the guys who came to like look at the loft in Station or something, he couldn't believe that. He's like, you look way too young for that. I'm like, yeah, I know. And anyway, as far as I'm concerned, I am. So anyway, the whole point is that I've got to leave this place that I've loved for years living here. I feel very safe here. And so it's a really difficult time for me. And I had some other personal stuff I had to deal with before Angel got sick. And I also got a sty in my eye, which is nearly gone now, but I had to go to the walk-in centre. And so I've still got it a bit. I've still got it, there. So anyway, it's been a whole traumatic experience. So on Sunday it was difficult because my parents decided to clean the cage out and tell me to sell it when she died, to be honest, perfectly honest, I didn't think that was great because I was grieving for my guinea pig that at that point hadn't even been buried, because I was with her on my lap after she died. I was still stroking her for an hour after death because I wanted to make sure she was actually dead. Because one of my worst fears is burying an animal alive, so and then I put her in a box for a while, before she was actually buried, and she just looked like she was asleep. Like, that's what she looked like. She didn't even look like she was dead, because she was still soft, and her ears were still soft, and her body was still soft, which is quite unusual, also warm, and so she just looked like she was sleeping. Um, I took her out of the box. I actually my parents, like, I had to have a shower, get changed, and then go outside, and my dad dug a hole in the garden, and I put her body in there in a tea towel and a microfiber towel. It's really hard doing that. I've never actually my parents have buried my pets before and then gone. I've never actually put it in the hole, it's really awful. But anyway, my parents want the cage that she was in, like, listed to ready to sell, basically. Because I said, if you want me to sell it, I'm gonna have to take pictures of it, and that was awful doing that, being asked to do that after she died. It's really not what I wanted to be doing, to be perfectly honest with you. It's just, like, not the right timing, But anyway, that was pretty awful for me and quite traumatic, as well. But anyway, they said they think it's better to just clean the cage and get out of the way, but the asking me to sell it is just, like, kind of hardcore. But anyway, I did take the photographs and I have uploaded it and listed it. And I had a cage of angels here, which is really old, which I've sold today, actually. And my friend Annie got it out the loft on Monday. So what I've done in terms of grieving is I did a lot of crying on Sunday. So I'm still getting tearful at times. I'm still allowing myself to grieve. It does feel very weird and surreal that she's gone. Kind of like it's sunk in, but it hasn't fully sunk in, I don't think, totally yet. It's kind of like she still feels like she's not completely gone, even though I know she has got buried her. So there's kind of like a bit of a closure issue. I think that maybe I just like the fact that she's on my cushion. I feel like she's still with me, even though she's not. Because when my grandma died, in 2014, I still felt like she's with me. I still feel like she's with me now. I never feel like she's left me. And maybe that's to do with the soulmate bond that I've had with my grandma. Well, I've had a really good close bond with my grandma, I should say, and a soulmate bond with Angel. So maybe that's why the bond just never breaks, regardless of death, which is a good thing, I guess. So maybe I just still feel loved by Angel and I love her, and like the tragic and difficult circumstances that surround her death. Um, they had a massive impact on me, but I think I'm feeling more of her love. I'm trying to remember the feeling of being loved. So, in terms of dealing with grief, I'm thinking and feeling about the love that she gave me and how that feeling felt in real life, and how our bond was together and the good times that we had. I'm also dealing with the difficulty of the tragic circumstances of what happened, and I find talking really helps. So one thing that really helps me with the grieving process is having my friends, seeing my friends, speaking to them even more than normal, and having quality time with them. And I've been off social media a lot. I've been off live streaming because I've just needed to grieve and have time out for me, and also to find a new home. It's really difficult trying to do both at the same time. It's absolutely manic. Like, I just don't stop, basically. It's really hardcore. And so on Monday, our friend Nanny came to help. He helped me clean up my flat, which was really, really nice of him. Um, and I had quite a few things to deal with. We had to get some stuff out of the loft, but ended up getting the guinea pig cages down, old cages. So although I didn't like the fact I had to list stuff at my mum's, like, so soon, like, because the cage that I've had here has been there since 2018, it's kind of like got older memories and it's not so new and fresh. So I'm able to more easily let it go. and she was with her companion Chestnut in that, and so because Chestnut died a long time ago in 2018, it feels more better in that way, and also, I know I've got to get rid of it for moving anyway, the sooner the better in that way, so it's not lingering in my home, in my flat, sat on the floor. So the person who had it today, she's got a new rat, and it's not getting on with the other one she's got, so she bought it for a rat. I only charged £7 for it because, like, so, I feel it's gone to good home. So basically, on Monday, I spent the whole day with my friend Andy. We were literally in the city doing stuff like shopping and all sorts of stuff, and I had to do some paperwork, and he was washing up for me at home, and um had to get stuff down from the loft because I've got to start shifting through that now. I've got to move, and there was stuff to do with moving that I was doing as well, and it was all really hectic. And then on Tuesday, I cocked up because I thought my friend Vanessa wanted to see me next Tuesday, and it was this Tuesday, and it was really difficult. So I was like, she phoned me up, was like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I got the wrong day." That was my fault entirely. But Angel had just died on the Sunday. The night she said, "See you next Tuesday," I was thinking the week after. So my mind was messed up. So obviously, like in terms of grief, I just tell my friends. They already know. My friends all know. And they already know that my mind's not straight at the moment. So they forgive me for that, and they're very accommodating. So it really helps when you've got very accommodating friends who are very flexible in times of need and who are there for you as well. So I did meet Vanessa, but it wasn't till 1 o'clock instead of midday. And I'm still planning to see her next week as well. So that was really helpful. It's actually helps me talking about what happened. So although it's really difficult, especially at first, I find it's easier to talk about what happened and talk through the traumatic event that happened with her and the way she died, because I just feel it's better to allow that stuff to come out of me and to not keep it held in, because when you hold in trauma, it just festers, I should say, and it manifests itself later on in really bad ways. So it's much better to just face the fact of what happened, and I find it better now that I can explain it to my friends what happened in the succession of events, so that I'm not holding that pain in me, if you know what I mean. I find it easier to let it go when I've talked about it. It's almost like the pain's flowing through me rather than just being kept in me. And obviously, I do believe that with grieving, you need to allow yourself to cry. Just pretending these things don't exist, bottling your feelings up, changing the subject, avoidance tactics are no good. They do not help. They just like, if I have people around me avoiding the subject purposely and not allowing me to talk about it, it just makes things worse. It's like, do you not care? You know what I mean? Hello, this has just happened. It's major in my life. I need to talk about it. So having friends and family around you that will allow you to talk about these things, allow you to cry, allow you to just be yourself and explain things and get things out is really good. Having my friends around me at this time has really kept me grounded. It's been really, really supportive, and it's allowed me to stay more calm in amongst the chaos. Like yesterday, I told you I was late for Vanessa because I thought it was a next week she wanted to see me. And so, like, Tuesday it was just bedlam because I had to, like, I phoned up for a property which I've actually viewed today because I've got to move. And so like, I'm having to look for properties and trying to think about moving out of here because I've got to leave, otherwise I'll be evicted basically. But not because of I've done anything wrong, because my landlord's selling the place and he just can't have any tenants in it. And so, that's very, very traumatic. On the Monday, I did speak to my vet and thank him personally for all the times he saved Angel's life, basically. I thank my mum as well because my mum saved her life, because if it wasn't for my mum, she wouldn't be here, because my mum is diabetic and could inject Angel, who was diabetic, for 2.5 years, and I couldn't do that. I thanked the head vet who looked after her for years, and he actually asked me what happened. He spent some time with me, and I found that was very good for grief. He said to me, "Can you just talk me through what happened when she left, like what happened in the days afterwards before her death?" And I talked him through everything, and it was really good for closure because he told me why she went on her side and couldn't stand up straight in the end. I thought it was because one of her lungs had collapsed from pneumonia, and he said no, it would have been a stroke or a blood clot on the brain because of an aneurysm in her lung from the pneumonia. And so that explained why she went on her side. There's nothing I could have done about that. I couldn't have helped her in any other way other than what I did, which was cuddling her in a towel and being there with her at the end. And he said, it'd been a stroke or a blood clot on the brain, probably a stroke, and, that there's nothing I could have done. But he was so happy that I was there at the end for her with all the love and care I could possibly give her, that she wasn't left her in the vets overnight with no one looking after her. She didn't die in a cage alone, because my parents, like I said, were asleep when it happened, and that I was with her and she was in my arms being cuddled and kissed and told she was loved, even though it was really traumatic to see her not being able to breathe properly and dying like that. And so it really helped talking to the vet. It really helped that the vet gave me quite a bit of time. He was talking to me, and I said to him that I'm not having any more guinea pigs for the foreseeable future. He's like, "What are you gonna do without guinea pigs?" And I said, "Every guinea pig I've had since leaving home, my parents that is, it's had something wrong with it. It's had to have an operation." He said, "That's true." And I said, "I think intuitively these guinea pigs are sent to me because, I'll look after them and give them the longest possible life." And he said, "I absolutely believe that." I'm like, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, I totally believe that." He said, "For certain." He said, "Because you do prolong their life. You keep them as alive as long as possible, whereas other guinea pigs he's had, they put them to sleep. So they don't live that many years. But give them the best life for the longest life possible." And he said, "Me and my mum have been great looking after Angel. She lived a lot longer because of us both and the way we took good care of her." So I was really happy to hear that, because my mum in the past, not recently, but in the past, my mum was like, "Oh, how come all your guinea pigs always get sick, everyone you have?" And my mum's had lots of guinea pigs, and she's like, "Oh, we didn't have all that problem." But I just think that, intuitively, that's why I get the guinea pigs that have got something wrong with them, because I won't put them to sleep. I'll let them have a much more full and long, happy life than they wouldn't get with other people, clearly. And the vet agreed with that. And so that was really nice. It was really good closure in terms of putting my mind at rest that, like, none of it's my fault. Because obviously when you get guinea pigs that are having operations a lot and they're sick a lot, you do think, "Oh my god, is it something with me that," but I know it's not. There's nothing I can do about these guinea pigs I have, just end up having some strange things wrong with them that the vets usually never heard of before, or really rare things, but I do believe that they're sent to me, but I still am not having more guinea pigs for the foreseeable future, if ever, but I'll never say never. If there's in 10 years' time, there's a little guinea pig that needs a home and I happen to be available, I probably couldn't say no. But I've told him I've got to move anyway, and usually where you have to move to, they don't have pets. So, and I've viewed a flat today that doesn't take pets. I don't know if I'll get it. I really like it, actually. I'd love to move there, but it's gonna be a lot more expensive. So I'm dealing with the grief by actually, like, speaking to the vet. I spoke to the woman who dealt with Angel's insurance throughout all these years. I said thank you to her for or everything she's done. I have sent the vet a card as well, and the team, they sent me some flowers as well, which is really nice of them. I did post a picture in the post section on here. So basically, like, talking to the vet about things, talking to the insurance company about, people that I've been dealing with for years, kind of closing off things with them is really helpful. Crying on the actual day, stroking her even after she's dead, to make sure she's definitely dead. Being there for her at the end was really good for me. Having this cushion that my mum and dad bought me as a present was really good, because she's, like, still with me. And having my friends around me, I saw Andy on Monday, Vanessa yesterday for lunch, and then Roger I video called in the evening, really, after 5. Then soon I'm Skyping my best friend Sammy tonight, and then Sammy's coming Friday to Monday to see me next to her. They already had it planned as it happened, but it's really good timing. And then I'm seeing Vanessa on Tuesday again next week before she goes back to her country for Christmas, because it's December 2022 when I'm recording this live. And so, having friends around me, discussing what happened. Some people avoid things, they'll avoid and repress their emotions. That is the worst thing you can do, because it just builds up and it stays in our body as physical and mental, emotional pain. So it's good to be able to talk about things, you know, and explain what happened and be able to be realistic and say, this did go on, this happened, this is how I'm feeling right now. And in terms of dealing with stress, I mean, you do have to have a certain element of just getting on with things in spite of what's happened. So I have to, like, grieve and give myself time to talk to my friends, be around my friends and explain what happened, and give myself time to be upset. But also I've got to think, like, I've got to move out of here. I've got a deadline. I have to look after myself as well. And some of the time I have to laugh about the amount of stuff I've got to do to move out and the weird things that are in my flat where I've got no space, I'd never ever laugh about what happened with Angel, obviously. That's tragic and I'm still upset. But in terms of my flat is so small that if you move anything, you have to move everything else around. So I had to take water bottles out of the kitchen and washing powder just to put the cage from the loft in there, clean the cage out in the shower, Angel's old cage that was here from 2018. And then it was all sat in the kitchen, everything on the kitchen floor. I had to move into here. And it's like you literally got nowhere to even move nearly. And you have to kind of laugh at stuff like that because if you didn't laugh, you cry and it just make you more miserable. So wherever laughter's possible in situations that are quite ironic, weird, or where you've just got no choice but to like get on with things. Like if you've got some way of having some humor in a sense, not in death. I don't believe in having humor in death, but personally, I don't believe that. But in terms of like the chaos that's around me at the moment in terms of my flat, and getting rid of stuff. It's just like you've got to do it step by step as well. Everything's got to be done step by step. And like I said, like if I didn't laugh, I'd cry about the amount of stuff I've got to shift out of my room. And moving one thing to just affects another all the time. It's just such a small flat. So I think, having an attitude of like some humor if you can. Like if you didn't laugh, you cry. So it's better to laugh than cry in terms of moving. Treating moving like an adventure. So if you've got stress in your life and it's a new and difficult situation, it's important to treat that new and difficult situation like an opportunity, new opportunity, a challenge or an adventure in life. So I'm trying to treat moving as an adventure. There's a new phase in my life, a new chapter, and I have to clear out all this old stuff in order to create a new and better life for myself. So I have a positive spin on it. I basically, said to Angel, well, after she died and I was still kind of stroking her, that I guess you're not going to be there for the new phase in my life. So I'm like starting a new phase in my life, and I think it'll be good for me to start a new phase. I think it'll be good to start a new life for the new year, especially after the tragedy of like my beautiful girl dying. And if you notice, I can talk about it now a lot more. Like I can even contemplate talking about this on Sunday. So by talking about it more and more, it's actually helping me. I don't think it's good to avoid things, like I said. And dealing with stress, you've just got to create a list. On Monday, I created a list before my friend Annie got here with all the things I had to do on the list, and I take them off. I'm doing less work at the moment, so I'm not really doing much work at all. So literally, I'm not on social media much at the moment. So I'm giving myself time out to get other things done. Because when I'm looking for a home, literally every day I'm on the internet looking at places like Rightmove, which is a property site in the UK. I'm looking at On the Market and Zoopla, and I'm trying to contact letting agencies and try to sort viewings out and contacting my landlord who's now doing legal stuff to do with the fact that we've got to move out, me and two other tenants in the house and in other parts of the house. And so, it's a lot of stress, but it's important to remain as calm as possible, to write down lists of what you've got to do, to understand that it's like work, it's like a full-time job. Like literally, I don't stop. Like today, I sold the puppy pads that Angel didn't use. I sold 3 bags of puppy pads, sold them on Facebook Marketplace for £5. They were collected, sold Angel's old cage for £7. The person collected it by taxi, so then I'd taken it out to the taxi. And then writing back to the landlord who issued a Section 21 notice to leave without it being my fault last night via his son. I'm messaging the council back to update them on the fact I could be homeless. And so I'm just going through everything logically and systematically in order of priority. The flat I saw today, I needed to apply for because I want it. And so as soon as I got home, I had to make that my priority. And I had to fill in all their application form and fill in evidence of income and reference to my landlord and everything like that, send it off, phone them up to check they've got it. And obviously, I had to go and view the property today. I was early. I was asking the question before I went in, then viewed the property. So it's just non-stop work, work, work. But that means I've had to let other work go, my usual work. So I haven't done any writing work for a while. Haven't been, streaming on this channel for a few days, well, quite some time, when Angel was sick. But I think you will understand that I've got to take time out for me and time out to look for property. Like it's got to be a priority now. And so I've already told people on this channel that I need to take the time out. So it's really important to tell your friends, family, and those you care about, such as on this channel or on another channel, if you've got your own channel, you know, like what's happening with you. So people are aware and they know about it. They know if your mind's not straight at the moment. They know if you get confused. They know if you forget things. They know if you have to change times around at short notice, that it's not your fault and that you're going through chaos at the moment. They're more understanding. And, you know, all you can do is take every day at a time and then just like do as much as you can throughout the days that you've got to get done and prioritize it in a sense of urgency. You know, like properties go just like that. So as soon as you see a property you want, you like, you've got to apply for it, you know, and if you need to pay a deposit, have all the money and stuff ready. So basically you're good to go. So because I know I've got a definite moving date now, that's why I'm trying to start selling stuff in my flat, because I know I'm definitely going. But I've also got to be in the now and complete tasks that are urgent in this moment. For example, I've still got to do my accounts for my self-employment, that type of thing. So everything's like all over the place and chaotic, but it's good to stay grounded by seeing your friends, by creating lists for things for yourself, by allowing yourself to still feel the pain and upset of grief, and by just like allowing your emotions to flow through you as much as possible. For stuff like moving, treat it as a new adventure, new opportunity, new challenge. If something difficult's happening in your life, just know that you will get through it and you will become stronger, that everything does happen for a reason, good or bad, and that, you know, be optimistic. Know that one phase of your life is over, but that does not mean to say your life is over, and you can gain strength from this situation and confidence, and you can still move forward in your life. Hope you found this useful, helpful insight. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Love to know what you think. Comment below. Share this video with anyone who needs it right now. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon so you never ever miss a single episode. I love you lots. Thanks for being here. Take care. Bye. Thanks for the thumbs up. Thanks for being in chat, everyone. Love you.